A strange thing happened to the man during the archaeological work. A venomous snake suddenly opened its huge mouth and after biting the man, immediately disappeared from sight, leaving behind the result of excruciating pain. Result. The result. Fortunately, as planned, he found his own cabin. But Jeff, who had lived alone for many years, had no roommate. To suppress the burning pain of the wound, Jeff could use an alcohol mixture, but this only relieved the pain temporarily. His consciousness had already begun to gradually blur, and a few minutes later, Jeff's limbs completely became paralyzed, and everything in front of him had become a blur. He then fell into a coma-like sleep, until many days later, Jeff slowly opened his eyes in the cabin. Upon waking, he looked at the wound on his hand, which seemed to have fully healed, but it didn't quite appear that way. It seemed uncertain, so he decided to go to town later to get a serum injection. However, when Jeff got outside the cabin, everything in front of him completely made him stop. There was no sandstorm, yet the car was already covered. Clearly, a long time had passed, but now Jeff couldn't think much about it. He could only drive to the city to find the serum. Except the more he drove, the stranger it became. What used to be a bustling street now seemed devoid of a single soul, leaving only a dreadful silence. It wasn't until Jeff drove past a supermarket entrance that he finally stopped the car. In front of him was a scene of chaos, and just a few meters away, a man was lying on the ground. The man's appearance was not of natural death. His entire skin had turned as pale as white paper. During his coma, something big must have happened, so he continued towards the nearby scattered shelves. It seemed there had been large-scale looting, and even a green armored vehicle appeared on camera, with some passers-by lying lifeless beside it. At this moment, Jeff was also bewildered until he saw a streetlight sign, and then learned that the authorities were notifying everyone to go to the shelter. Jeff was completely stunned by this, and hurriedly drove the car home to find his parents. On the way, he finally realized he needed to turn on the radio. When he pushed open the door to his parents' bedroom, a pungent smell filled the room. Jeff's parents had long stopped breathing, and even flies swarmed around the bed. Witnessing all this, he fell into sorrow, sitting in the hall, unable to console himself for a long time. But signs of the impending apocalypse were already evident. Unfortunately, after several consecutive days had passed, besides scattered bodies, he made no discoveries. As if the world belonged solely to him, Jeff could take whatever he wanted from the supermarket, but continuing this way was almost about to make He broke down, so Jeff prepared to go. But at this moment, a head suddenly popped out from the side, and a couple walked out, which left Jeff momentarily stunned. Soon, Jeff got the truth. The surviving man took out his cell phone and showed Jeff a news report from earlier. It turns out that when the outbreak occurred, the authorities immediately took measures and arranged for all residents to start using vaccines. However, the infection spread so rapidly that the vaccines quickly lost their effectiveness, leading to the current apocalyptic situation. Watching the news report on the previous devastation, Jeff couldn't help but shed tears, and the two beside him quickly comforted him. Now, with few people left in the entire world, the three of them have survived, so they might as well rely on the ample. Enjoy the supplies in the current life while you can. Who knows what might happen next? The two seemed quite satisfied with their current situation, but Jeff fell into deep thoughts. Although there was no need to worry about things like power systems collapsing for now, in the end, everything would be exhausted, and by then, everyone might be wandering in the wilderness. So, the next day, Jeff went to the poetic space to find the carefree woman to discuss things. He straightforwardly said that continuing like this was not a solution, but the woman still looked impatient. When the three of them were eating together, Jeff tirelessly talked about future plans, but this only agitated the woman's mind. Directly left the dining table and walked away until the man revealed a secret. Jeff learned that all the woman's close relatives had already died. Already suffering from depression, she was now extremely emotionally unstable, let alone think about any future plans. In fact, the woman had long wanted to end her life, but it was the man who had been comforting her. After hearing the woman, the man also left the table, but Jeff still did not give up, and again approached the emotionally unstable. The woman hoped to persuade her to live with him. Only by finding more survivors could they survive. However, the woman already suffered from depression. Jeff's actions were almost provoking someone who was avoiding reality. Naturally, the woman did not agree to leave together. Compared to worrying about the so-called future, she preferred to immerse herself in the dream of forgetting her family's death. With no other choice, Jeff planned to set out on his own, but after taking just a few steps, a gunshot rang out.